So today in the first half of this lecture, we will perform this uh, quantitative problem set number 4. So in this case, you have this description of the problem, and you have this sketch uh, in which you have to estimate the quantities first. So what is the description? The details of a formwork. Can you hear me?
Yes, Precious, you're good.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
we can.
Okay, and I am also recording it. So the details of a formwork panel are given in figure below. Calculate the cost to a contractor of making, installing, striking, cleaning, and oiling one panel based on the following data if each panel can be used for 5 times. What is the average total cost of panel per use and the average cost per square meter for one use? So this is a formwork panel. So the plan and section of this panel have been shown. This panel is 2.44 meter wide. Okay, 2.44 meter wide by 1.22 feet, 2.44 meter long by 1.22 meter wide. And it includes uh, two types of wood. One is the uh, facing wood, that means the wooden plank. Okay, and the other are the strutting. So the struttings are like 100 millimeter by 50 millimeter in cross section, and the panel construction is a 19 millimeter plywood facing, and then it is backed by these uh, uh, planks in the horizontal and the vertical direction in the plane of paper. So you can see that we need, if you want to calculate the quantity of this material, then you need to find the area and plus the volume of those struts. So the additional data given is like this: the cost of the softwood timber. So the softwood timber will be used for those supports. So it is $295 per cubic meter. And the cost of 19 millimeter ply is $12.65 per square meter. And there is a wastage allowance in the wood. Then there is the cost allowance for the nails, which is to be used as $1.5 per square meter. The carpenters all-in rate is $12 per hour. Labor all-in rate is $9 per hour. So the composite rate will be based on the two carpenters and one labor. Okay, and then the labor hours to make the panel are 1.25 hours per square meter. So this type of data is needed to calculate the number of labor hours. So it means the average rate for the productivity has been shown. That means this is 1.25 hour per square meter is the kind of productivity of the labor. Labor hours to install the panel have been given as 1 hour per panel, and the labor hours to strike the panel are 0.55 hour per panel, and labor hours to clean and oil the panel are 0.04 hours per square meter. The oil which is needed, which will cost $1.25 per liter, and the mold oil usage is 0.36 liter per square meter. So all this data will be needed for the operation of this formwork panel. So that means if this formwork panel is to be used, and then after that formwork panel, when it is used, it has to be removed. So removing the formwork panel, you need these activities. Uh, that means strike the panel, cleaning the panel, and then before that, some labor is needed for the installing the panel as well. So, uh, So what we have to do is we have to calculate the cost of this operation. So the cost of this operation will be will include the labor cost plus the material cost. So first we calculate the material cost. So for calculating the material cost, we need the material quantities. So the first quantity which you will need will be the uh, so first we calculate the volume of the softwood timber. So here we have in the solution, I have put like number 3 over here. So this 3 represents these, 3 represents these uh, long side, okay? And these long side wooden planks. So there will be 3 of such planks. Each of that will be with the length of 2.44 meter, and its cross section is 100 millimeter by 50 millimeter. Okay, so I have used only these figures. So for example, 2.44 meter is the length, 0.1 meter is the width, and 0.05 meter is the uh, thickness, and then I have multiplied by 3. And then the second one is the 5 by 1.22 by 0.1 by 0.05. What are these five? Fives are these short side these struts. Okay, short size. I mean, on the so this its length is 1.22 meter, and its length is 1.22 meter, and then its cross sectional area is 50 by 100 millimeter. And then these are 5 of such quantities. So therefore, uh, 5 times 1.22 times 0.1 times 0.05. So 100 millimeter by 50 millimeter cross section multiplied by the length and multiplied by the number of sections. So if you will add them together, then you get a total of 0.0671 cubic meter. Okay, remember that here we have not considered any such things. So for example, uh, these inner struts are less than the length of 1.22 meter. So, and then, for example, and then this the inner strut is less than the length of minus 2.44 meter. So we can make these adjustments as well. However, yeah, for more, that means for more accuracy, we can make these adjustments, and then it will mean that there will be the calculated quantity will be slightly less than this amount, 0.0671. So generally speaking, for more accurate calculations, we can make these adjustments. So we can calculate the full amounts, and then you can subtract some of these deductions. Okay. However, the difference will be generally be very small in this case. So that's why for this particular example, I have neglected this. So since we have calculated the cubic meter needed for this timber, so we will multiply by its unit rate, which will be $295 per cubic meter. And then we will also add the wastage of 17.5%. So therefore, you take this quantity 0.0671 multiplied by the wastage factor, which will become 1.175, and multiplied by the unit cost of the material. So it will become like $23.26. The second quantity will be this the rectangular wooden plank, 2.44 meter by 1.22 meter. Okay, so this the cost of this wooden plank is given in per square meter. So otherwise the timber was calculated in cubic meter, but the plywood wooden plank was calculated in per square meter. So its area will be then 19 millimeter plywood facing, so it will be 2.44 meter by 1.22 meter, that is the area, 2.98 square meter. So, and then multiplied by $12.65 per square meter, so it will be after adding the wastage factor, so it will be so the cost of plywood will be plywood will be then 2.98 times 1.17. I think it should be 2.98. 2.98. Yeah, 2.98 square meter multiplied by the wastage 1.175 and multiplied by 12.65. So it should be about 44.25 dollar. So the wooden plank is $44.25, and then the plywood is $44.25. The horizontal part, okay, and then these supports are like $23.26. So the total material cost will be 23.26 plus 44.25. In fact, it is not the only material. It is the that's why it is called as the cost of timber. The other material is the nails, which will be calculated based on this given rate of $1.5 per square meter. So if $1.5 per square meter, so that will amount to be 4.47. So $1.5 multiplied by the area, which is 2.98 square meter. So here there will be no wastage factor. The wastage factor is only for the wood or timber. Okay. Uh, Therefore, we can calculate the total cost will as 71.98, which will be 67.51 plus 4.47, that will be 71.98. So that will be the total material cost needed for this. Okay, so is the overall idea clear for this? In this case, what I want to say is that the overall idea for the material cost is that we calculate the quantity of the material, and then we multiply by the unit rate of the material. And then if there are any wastage allowances, so we also add the wastage allowances. So this is what we have done over here. Okay, so after the material cost, we need to calculate the labor cost. So for the labor, we need the labor hours. So labor hours needed. So let's see how the labor cost is calculated. So the composite labor rate is $33 per hour. It is because $12 per hour was for the rate for the carpenter. So two carpenters were needed. So that means we will multiply by two. And $9 per hour was for the labor. Since one labor was needed, so that is multiplied by one. So if we add these two composite rates, so therefore the total composite rate is $33 per hour. So here we are using a combined composite labor rate because we are assuming that all the laborers are working simultaneously on the job. So uh, for our purpose, we can use this composite rate. Otherwise, if some of the laborers are working on some other job, then we need to calculate it separately for those laborers. Okay, so the next is the labor cost to make the panel will be this $122.79. So how it has been calculated? It has been calculated based on the productivity of the for making the panel. The productivity for making the panel is 1.25 hour is needed for 1 square meter. So we need total 2.44 by 1.22. This many square meter we need. So therefore, it means that we will need this many hours. Okay, this many hours for making one panel, and since 1 hour of work costs us $33, so therefore, for one panel, for making one panel, the labor cost will be $122.79. Okay, so this is for the cost for making the panel. So after we have made the panel, then the panel have to be installed. So for installing the panel, 1 hour is needed per square meter. Uh, sorry, 1 hour is needed per panel, not per square meter. So if you see that 1 hour is needed for one panel. So therefore, if for one panel, then that means the cost will be $33 because $33 is the labor composite labor cost. And then in addition, because this is only the formwork crew, so we are only considering about the formwork. So of course, after the formwork has been installed, therefore there will be the reinforcement work, there will be the concreting work, but that reinforcement and concreting we are not considering in this problem. So we are only considering the formwork. So suppose after the formwork has been installed and then we need to strike it out. That means we have to remove that formwork. So for this, we need 0.55 hour for one panel. Okay, 0.55 hour for one panel. So therefore, the striking removal cost is $18.15. So after the formwork has been removed, then the formwork panel have to be cleaned and oiled. So the cleaning and oiling can be calculated by this calculation. So the cleaning and oiling cost is $5.22 and $22. But how it has been calculated? So here you can see that this is the size of the panel, and this is the some uh, productivity factor. So what is that productivity factor? It is 0.04 hour per square meter. So it means that 0.04 hour per square meter. So that means for oiling and cleaning, 0.04 hours are needed per square meter. So for how many square meter? This many square meter. So this means that this much hours will be needed and multiplied by 33. Okay. So this is for the cleaning. And then for oiling, it needs 0.36 hour per square meter. For oiling, it needs 0.3, oh sorry, so for oiling it is a little bit different. So for oiling it is need 0.36 liters per meter. So 0.36 liter per meter per square, sorry, 0.36 liters of oil is needed per square meter. Okay, so it means that yeah, here you can see that it is not the labor cost which we are including. Here we are including the cost of oiling. Okay, cost of oiling. That means the cost of oiling is not included into the material cost of the panel, because that is the cost of material which is being consumed for the operation of the formwork. So therefore, we have included it into the labor cost over here, although it is essentially the cost of material over here. And then this cost of material is calculated like this. So for cleaning and oiling only needed 0.04 hour per square meter. So that cost we have already calculated. But for the mold oil cost, it is because it costs about $1.2 per liter, and then for 1 square meter we need 0.36 liters. So for that is now easy. So here we can see that $0.36 are needed for 1 square meter. So multiplied by the number of square meters. So this means this much liter of oil is needed. This much liter of oil is needed, then we multiply it by its rate per liter. So multiplied by 1.2. So it will be $5.22. So again, I recall that this is the cost of the material, but actually it is not the material for making the panel. It is the cost of material which is for the operation and maintenance of the panel. So therefore, in this case, we are including it into the cost of the labor. Okay. So it is $5.22. So now we will add up all the costs for the labors. So all of these costs which we calculated were for one-time usage. So the total labor cost for 5 usages will be this much. So 122.79 is what? What is 120? This is the cost for making the panel. So okay, we will make the panel once. We will not add it. We will not multiply it by 5. But these costs. So for example, installing 33, cleaning, sorry, striking 18.75, and cleaning and oiling, okay, 5.22. So this thing will, these three costs will happen each time the panel will be used. So suppose if in this, in the problem of this question, it has been asked that the cost for 5 times use of this panel, okay, we have to find. So therefore, what we have done over here is we have multiplied these costs by 5, okay, and then added with the cost of making the panel, the labor cost for making the panel. So here you can see that the cost of making the panel was $122, but for the operation cost for using the panel for 5 times was $281. It was more than the cost of the panel itself. But okay, so in this way, the total cost is $404.64. So now, earlier we had the material cost, which was 71.98, and then the 5 time usage cost was 404. So total cost is $476.97. So it will mean that, and here we are assuming that the panel will last for 5 times usage. So we, therefore, we can say that the panel was used for 5 times. So it cost us $476.97. So for 1 time usage, it will cost like $95.39. So the average cost of panel per square meter will be, in this case, will be 95.39. And then multiplied, divided by its area, so it will be $32.04 per square meter. So in this way, these costs can be used. For example, if there is a formwork supplier, okay, if there is a formwork supplier, so then the formwork supplier may estimate this much cost for the formwork. So they may, if the formwork supplier may want to rent that uh, formwork, so they may rent at this rate, okay, $95.39 for one usage, okay. Or in another case, if a contractor wants to uh, if a contractor wants, if a contract, or in other case, if a contractor wants to bid for the some construction job which needs the formwork operations. So this type of calculations can be performed by the contractor, and then to include these values in their cost estimates. Okay, so this was the problem number 1. And then there is a problem number 2 as well. So do you have any questions uh, about this question, about this problem? Do you have any issue, anything which is not understandable?